Ladies and gentlemen, I mean, you just saw us last night, but as news often dictates and it never stops, we're back again. So, welcome to another brand new edition of HBCU Sports Live. I am Chris Stevens. To my left is Jared Hoffman. And if you are just waking up from a nap, or if you've been busy at work all day, you're on your lunch break, or you're chilling or whatever, there's been some more shenanigans at Florida A&M University, as reported by several news outlets today. Interim President Dr. Timothy Beard has written a letter requesting either the resignations or he would be forced to terminate several key positions in Florida A&M's senior leadership, which includes athletic director. That would include the former athletic director, now Tiffany Dawn Sykes. And this is just Florida A&M just can't resist staying out of the headlines, good, bad, or indifferent. And for the most part, it's been bad. So what I'm going to let Jared Hoffman, share his opinions on it because, Jared, when he takes the lead on these things, he has a lot to say and there's a lot to talk about here. So, Jared, what are your initial thoughts about whatever this is that's going on down in Tallahassee today?
What is up with Florida A&M having week 0 games and having scandals? What is up with this? Like 2022, they played North Carolina in week 0, and then they have the eligibility issue. Now they're playing the MEAC SWAC Challenge less than 2 weeks away, like literally the Saturday after this one. And now your interim president and your AD steps down. What is going on? What? Can you not get it together for these week 0 games? Like, you are less than 2 weeks away from the athletic season starting, and you're going to not even an interim president. You don't have a president at all, and you don't have an AD. I don't get it. We said the board of trustees needed to be careful for what they wished for. Mm-hmm. And now you're going to get it. Your over-involvement has come back to strike you again. You wanted to get over-involved? Here you go. Now you better hope that you're able to find a AD and a president in time. They probably gonna get somebody who's already on staff because you're not gonna do a nationwide search this close to the season starting. You're not going to be able to do a nationwide search. So you're going to be looking for somebody who's probably going to have to hire the associate AD. You're probably going to have to hire the somebody who was already on the Florida A&M, whatever they call it. But like you wanted to get over involved. You wanted it AD Sykes out the door. There you go. Now you're gonna have to look for a replacement, and you better hope that you like them too, because it's looking like they ain't gonna like whoever coming through the door. You better hope that they are able to succeed, because you're gonna be looking like an idiot when if it don't work out. And I hope that Allen is on Don AD Sykes' line, because hey. She deserves a shot, but this is just a clown show. This is a circus. And it's ridiculous.
There's another university that we have been reporting on that could have another AD opening as well, so that could be a spot for her too. Let's get to a couple of these comments. Shouts out to Ellis Connor from Facebook. He says, "I've been waiting for you to come on and help me make sense of this. We don't know if we can even make sense of it, but we're gonna try."
Who us? Us? You need to call Florida A&M and tell them to make sense of this. We can't make sense of this. This don't make no sense.
It doesn't. We're going to try, though. Shouts out to Silas Edward McMorris. He says, "I'm so sorry that my SWAC brothers and sisters are having to deal with this." I think it's important to note that we say this all the time. An institution's problem does not make an HBCU problem. It's not all on all 107. Like when we talked about Virginia State last night with everything that's going on with the lacrosse program, we're not going to say that every HBCU athletic program has bullying and kids being pushed through protocol, even though we could probably say this some are, but Virginia State is just the one we know about, the one that we've, got confirmation on. But we can't just make it a wide HBCU problem. We can't make it a SWAC problem. I mean, this is solely on Florida A&M. Make no mistake about it. This has nothing to do with Bethune-Cookman. This has nothing to do with Jackson State. This has nothing to do with Alabama State, Alabama A&M. This is any SWAC school you want to name. SWAC is in the clear. If anything, this probably makes their chances. They're probably doing the Birdman hand rub a little bit over here because now Florida A&M looks a little weaker because of all the foolishness they're having to deal with.
Yeah, and just real quick, like, I know we make jokes about Florida A&M, and everything that's going on around them, but the people that I really feel bad about is these athletes, these football players. Like they're already looked at as an underdog, because Willie Simmons is out the door, Isaiah Major, the reigning defensive player of the year, is out the door, Jeremy Moose is out the door, Gentle Hunt, who was supposed to be their superstar defender with Major gone, he's out the door from the transfer portal. And you like, there's so much roster overhaul, and James Colsey already has to overcome, the everything that went on with the coaching search this offseason. And now they have to deal with the fact that with the distraction of the interim president and AD Sykes being out the door. This is supposed to be us asking the question, can they overcome all these obstacles and repeat as national champions, HBCU national champions? And now they have to deal with questions about the interim president and the AD. They already had to answer questions about what is it like not having Willie Simmons, because those questions are coming. Those questions are coming of, is this team still good enough to repeat as champions? And now they got to deal with this, that they don't deserve that. And this board of trustees fails to understand that it's not just about what you think is right for the university. It's not just about, who you think is good enough, especially when you didn't give a chance to answer the question, is she good enough? You didn't do anything to help answer the question, is AD Sykes good enough to do her job? Because every step of the way you monitored her with as if she was under investigation when she did absolutely nothing wrong but do her job. She made a couple of decisions you don't like, and you cut the rug from under her. Nothing that happened to her was fair in her time at Florida A&M. And I hope that wherever she chooses to go next, because she will get another job, you can count on that. I refuse to believe that she's just going to sit on the sidelines unless she chooses to. So she will get another opportunity. And I'm pretty sure she will get the opportunity to succeed wherever she goes next. The question is, will the board of trustees do that for whoever comes in the door after AD Sykes? Because they need to understand that AD Sykes was in a lose-lose situation with this job. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. She was not given the tools to succeed in this position. This was always going to be the outcome. The board of trustees need to be shaking their heads because it took this long to happen and we're this close to the season. So hopefully they find somebody that they deem good enough and they are willing to offer a long-term contract afterwards. Because we said this about the men's basketball coach. You can't just shuffle people in and out and expect to have stability. You need to find somebody that can do the job and allow them to do their job. Because you're not going to grow as a university and as an athletic program by cutting people from being able to do their job. So this is just an unfortunate situation for these athletes and these coaches that are trying to prepare for a tough task of repeating as champions. And I don't know what else there is to say.
Well, I did want to get one more point, but I got to get to these comments. Aaron B says it was always headed down this path. Wish her the best, and let's try to find somebody that's going to continue to move Florida A&M forward. I thought she was doing that, but Nehemiah Jefferson says FAMU will be fine football-wise. There's no distraction. Everyone knew this was going to happen. The American brother chimes in. The football will be fine. The AD wasn't liked by the alums, donors, and coaches. It sucks, but it was coming at some point. Um, uh, if everybody's against one person, then that really just kind of sort of like, confirms what our suspicions over here have always been. And I do want, let me see what, and Silas, you're right. I did. You misunderstood me. I wasn't painting a wide brush over the swag. There's a Prairie View alum. I'm sorry that our fellow FAMU swag brothers and sisters haven't dealt with this at FAMU. I didn't mean that this was the only HBC problem. My bad, Silas. I apologize. So yes, okay. So yeah, Florida A&M has to deal with this on their own terms, but what's interesting about this is we just spent an entire episode, or at least half of one, talking about, you know, Patrick Crary's situation. And this was who literally has had, I mean, I don't this situation was the straw that probably broke most folks back with regards to AD Sykes, but she stood resolute right up until the final second, saying that Patrick Curry II was the man for the job. Now the question is, will he even get a chance to do the job now that the woman that hired him and went to bat for him has been pushed out the door?
And who will they get that will want to do the job after that? After seeing how Patrick Curry was disrespected, you think a former Division I coach is going to look at how you treated Patrick Curry after he got a cosign from, once again, the AP Coach of the Year? A former AP Coach of the Year gave a cosign to this man, and they see how you treated him. You honestly think that they will take a chance and say, I want to be the next head man for Florida A&M's men's basketball program after you disrespected him? And I want to address the American Brothers comment, like the alums, donors, and coaches didn't like her. Why wait this long to get her out the door then? Why wait this long? As soon as the season was over, as soon as the football coaches fiasco happened, you should have did it then. If this was the road that we all knew was going to the road we were all going to travel, why wait this long? When the season is less than 2 weeks away, why wait this long then? You waited entirely too long. I can tell you exactly what happened. They expected her to want to leave her on her own, and they didn't expect her to back down, not to back down. That's what happened. They didn't think that it was going to take her being having to be fired. They thought she was just going to want to resign until they realized that she's stronger than they thought she was.
Mm-hmm.
And now she done left y'all in a position where now you scrambling. Now you just going to have to find somebody on a whim. Somebody that they probably not going to want. When you could have let her go in January, when the football coaches fiasco happened, when they criticized her trying to find Sean Gibbs, when she was looking to hire Sean Gibbs as the next head coach, you should have released her then. Why not get rid of her then? If we all knew that they didn't want her anyway. Like I said, this is going to be tough for them to look for somebody long term, because if I'm on the outside looking in, why would I want that job when I see how the board of trustees treats people who are currently in their position? I wouldn't want to be a part of this. The only thing that could help them is their name. Florida A&M brand is probably big enough to overcome this. But once they are in the position, they see how they are treated. Will they want to stick around?
And so American Brother clarifies, he said it was difficult to run her off, and Prez Larry was her supporter. Once he was out, the AD was out shortly after. Again, this is information. This whole situation is a hot mess for sure. And yes, it is. And I think, yeah, once Dr. Robinson resigned, it was kind of like, it was starting to be understood that, AD Sykes was his hire. And, Deborah Lewis, let's get her comment on the screen because I feel like this is important. The AD is the cousin of Larry Robinson's wife. As long as Robinson was there, she was not going anywhere. So okay, so if this isn't so okay, if people think this was a nepotism hire, that's fine. I'm not gonna take away from the right of Florida A&M alums, or as the word we like to use. Well, I don't like to use it, but I know we like to use it in media. Stakeholders. If the stakeholders of Florida A&M felt like that, AD's Tiffany Don Sykes was a um, nepotism hire. Cool. That's your feeling. Not going to take that away from you. But the woman has served in athletics for a long time. Like she's been she's worked at Grambling. She's worked at Virginia State. She's worked at Dartmouth. I mean, this isn't a woman that, just got pulled off the street and say, hey, let's just make a woman the AD. No, this is a woman with athletic, um, college athletic credentials. So it's not like, this was a woman just pulled off the street and say, hey, let's just make her an AD because she's a female. That's not how this works. And if it was how it works, then yeah, then probably it was a wrong hire. But at the same time, everything that we have gathered, and this is what we do for a living. We gather information. We take it all in, we process it, we report it, and then when we get on these programs like this, we share our opinions. And my opinion, I can only speak for Chris Stevens. I know Jared Hoffman has an opinion as well. But Chris Stevens' opinion is, Jared said it. Y'all never gave her a fair chance. And now that she's gone, what are the excuses going to be? What are the excuses going to be when the Florida A&M men's basketball team does not continues their 17 going on 18-year streak of not having a winning record? What is going to be the excuses when the Florida A&M football team does not repeat? I mean, there's a pretty good chance that they can still win the SWAC East, the SWAC, and the Celebration Bowl. But what happens if they don't? And also, what are the excuses going to be once that APR starts sinking again? Because y'all forgot y'all APR was in the toilet for a long time, and she was starting to pull it out. So now that she's gone, what are the excuses going to be? That's the only question I have. But as far as ODB, shout out to him. I'm going back to the Patrick Craig comment. He says he needs to be actively looking for a new job as we speak. I would be surprised if I would be surprised if he gets to this season. Not 2025, 26, but 24, 25, because we're still in August and basketball practice usually doesn't start until November 1st or a little before that. So if there's a coach out there that would like to have him on as an assistant at a D2 or a D1, if I were him, I would take it, because there's no sense in sticking around to be a lame duck coach, knowing once again that once this season is over, regardless of how you perform, because you were not the coach that this school wanted in the first place, they still going to get rid of you. They still going to kick you out the door. So if I'm Patrick Curry, I am absolutely looking for employment right now. I'm not waiting for, to finish. If this Florida A&M team finishes like 14-15 or 15-14 or 16-13, still not going to be good enough. It's going to be a market improvement over the last 7 years under Robert McCullum, but they were still going to find a way to get him out the door. So, yeah, Patrick Curry should probably be looking for a new situation as well. And if he gets through the season, cool. But if he finds something now, he should go ahead and hop out on the first thing smoking, because this is a dumpster fire. Everything about this situation is a dumpster fire.
And I just want to address Nehemiah's comment. He said the BOT could only fire the president. The president could have terminated her. You think if the BOT has the power to, and if I'm speaking out of turn, let me know and I'll apologize. You think if the BOT got enough power to fire the president, you don't think they got enough power to tell the president that we don't have confidence in this AD, you need to terminate her? As soon as they realized that they had no faith in AD Sykes, which was probably from day one. You don't think that they say she on thin ice? And as soon as that Sean Gibbs thing happened, that was the last straw. Let's cut her loose and look for someone else. Conduct a national search for someone else. Come on, man. We all knew. Anybody that has followed all of the things that has happened surrounding Florida A&M in the past 2 years, we all knew that this was only a matter of time. And now with her leaving, with her being gone, and your interim president being gone, less than 2 weeks away from the season, they're in a horrible situation right now. They are in a can't win situation.
Well, actually, Jared, let me correct you. The interim president is still there. Timothy Beard is still there,
Okay.
but he just fired everybody that's underneath him, basically. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you completely. If y'all did not want this woman, especially after the Sean Gibbs situation, which was dumb anyway, because Sean Gibbs is a hell of a football coach, and now the SIAC is going to have to pay for Florida A&M Board of Trustees transgressions. Because I can tell you, Fort Valley State is going to be pretty doggone good this year. And so now you've got a pissed off Sean Gibbs. So everybody in the SIAC is just going to look at the Florida A&M and say, "Well, thanks for nothing," because we're in trouble. But um, it's just a shock. That again, as Jared has reiterated, the Florida A&M football team takes the field Saturday, August 24th, 11 days from this very moment. And you guys are telling us that this rudderless ship, which is basically what the Florida A&M athletic department is right now, it is a rudderless ship, is going to make it through a season where you don't have an AD. You're still looking for a bowling coach. You don't care about the basketball coach that much. You lost. Apparently, you lost the softball coach, the co-SWAC coach of the year, because you wouldn't give her a multi-year contract. So what help us help you, Florida A&M Board of Trustees. Help us help you. What is what's the deal? What's going on? What can someone do to assuage whatever fears or lack of faith or lack of confidence that you have to run your athletic program? Because right now you're just looking foolish. Absolutely looking foolish. And there's nothing to the man of the hour, too sweet to be sour, has joined us. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our honor and privilege to welcome publisher and founder of HBCU Sports, Mr. Ken Rashad, to the broadcast. Ken, what's going on, man?
Man, look. Okay. So there I was, minding my own business, eating a leftover bowl of dirty rice, talking to the lovely Mrs. Rashad about just stuff. And I go back to my desk with my bowl. Am I getting feedback? You guys getting feedback?
No, we hear you fine.
Okay, I'll fight through it. Let me see. Anyway, and so here I am back. I get to my desk with my bowl of dirty rice from the microwave, and then here I am, and I'm seeing a tweet from Stephanie Sykes saying from Tiffany Sykes saying she's no longer the AD, and I'm like, okay, what's going on here? And so now I'm looking at news. You guys are publishing, and now she's no longer there. So remember earlier, I said that the board of trustees at FAMU are the new school fools of HBCUs.
Yep.
You just confirmed that I was correct. The thing is, I just didn't realize just how big of fools you actually are, because there are. It's been step after step after step, and believe it or not, it actually started before that 9-figure donation. That wasn't a donation. The foolishness started before then. And while I was willing to give the board of trustees a pass, because I said, you know what, I'm not going to really put this all on the board of trustees, because you know what, the president didn't necessarily do what he was supposed to do in making sure that the board of trustees, and to a much larger degree, the board of the foundation, he didn't do what he was supposed to do. But you know what, I'm throwing that all away now, because you got members of the board of trustees who have proven that they, I guess to some degree, they were just as complicit. So let me And I'll try to bring this all back to speed, but I can't help but to go back to that 9-figure donation that wasn't donation, because I can't think of a guy, her name. Who is the chairman of the board of trustees? What is the lady's name? You guys remember?
Kristen Harper.
Kristen Harper, right?
Yes.
Now, keep in mind, according to Kristen Harper, she went to meet, this was on the day of graduation or whatever the case may be, and she's with Larry Robinson and Jeremy or whatever the guy's name is, and they're signing paperwork, about all of the signatures. And if I'm not mistaken, didn't she sign off on that? She signed off on it.
She did.
Okay. And so when it becomes clear that the 9-figure donation isn't a donation, now all of a sudden Larry Robinson is apologizing. He's apologizing because she signed off on the paper. And because, he makes this excuse, well, she was put on the spot and she didn't know, she felt obligated, or she was on the spot, so she signed off on it.
Basically,
you know why? Is that
basically scapegoating him?
Well, right. But here's my point when I say new school food. The point that I'm trying to make is she threw President Robinson under the bus. You know why that was? Because when it became clear that the 9-figure donation wasn't a donation, she felt foolish. She felt, she wanted to put the blame on Larry Robinson for making her look like a fool, for signing off on paperwork that you didn't even take the time to vet. But according to you just signed off on it because you felt pressured and you wanted to spot. Nobody made you do it. And so as a result, you felt foolish. And as a result of you doing that, the board of trustees that you chair, basically, well, you know what? You made them look like fools. There's that word again, fool. Because you felt foolish in what you did. You made the board of trustees look like a bunch of fools, which in essence, you made the university look foolish. And now, guess what? So now you try to clean up the foolishness by trying to put all these, investigated and all this other stuff, and the trial lady, the lady who was over advancement, she's stepping down and all this other stuff. But then you constantly dig deep. And so we kind of knew, well, okay, it's just simply a matter of time before President Robinson is gone. We kind of knew that was coming, and that wasn't necessarily a surprise when it happened. However, you decided to put somebody in place on an interim basis, and Jared, you were spot on. And make no mistake about it. They said, look, we're going to put you in this interim position, and this is what you need to do. You need to get rid of the leadership, including the athletic director. And I don't know if I wasn't here early enough, I just heard that part. I don't know if someone tried to challenge you on that point. But make no mistake about it. When this guy was put in as the interim president of FAMU, he had some instructions. You need to get rid of some folks.
Yeah,
there was nobody else in an interim capacity would take such steps as you all said. Here we are, literally weeks away from the start of the football season. You do not terminate the damn athletic director of all people. Especially when those of us who have some clue know that she knows a hell of a lot more about this stuff than you do. And you've exemplified that you don't know anything about what the role of an athletic director is. But yet you continue to try to impress us, and I've said this before to the board of trustees, stop trying to impress us with your intelligent ignorance. Because whether it's intelligent or not, guess what? It's still ignorant. And I'm gonna leave it at that. So, what really bothers me? I didn't even go to damn FAMU. Why am I almost? Why am I upset? I didn't go to FAMU, but I'm upset about this. And I say this out of respect for those, because I've been to the campus. It's a great atmosphere. The people are great. The alums are passionate about their schools as they should. But man, there's just something inherently wrong about how all of this played out. And there's no scandal. I mean, or should I say, the scandal is with the board of trustees. It's not that the president needed to be removed. It's not that the athletic directors needed to be removed. It's not that anybody in over leadership with respect to FAMU needs to be removed. Y'all need to go. Plain and simple. But because of the politics and all of this, they probably won't go anywhere. But rest assured, you guys have shown, intelligently or not, you are ignorant and you are complicit, and you don't know. I'm not gonna use profanity, but you guys don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're doing, and it's not even it's not even speculative now. It's a fact. You don't know what you're doing, and I'm not wishing this on anybody, but FAMU may have to take a couple more blows before anything gets better. Because given what we all know right now, given the 9-figure donation that wasn't a donation, given the fact that you hire a basketball coach who initially was going to get anywhere between a 4-year contract, you approve him for a 1-year contract, and you got coaches like Shaka Smart and all these other coaches who we know have a clue, who have exhibited that they've had a clue. And they are literally telling you, you guys can say what you want. To me, when they made those open statements, when they supported Crary, basically what they were telling the board of trustees is stop being foolish. This guy can coach. That's literally what they were saying. They were saying, no matter how intelligent it is, it's still ignorant. You need to keep that man on for more than a year, because if he has a modicum. Here's the thing with basketball at FAMU. This is how low the bar is. Basketball at FAMU has been so bad for so long. If Crary has just a modicum of success, he likely will make a go-to guy in someone else's program. And if he were to leave, I wouldn't blame him one iota, because you've only got yourselves responsible for it. So I apologize, brothers, for coming in at the second, but I had to say something, man. I blame the FAMU board of trustees for interrupting my bowl of dirty rice. And I do not appreciate it. Anyway, man, the floor is yours.
All right, thanks, Ken. And what more can be said? I mean, we talked about Florida A&M almost as much as we talk to our own families. I mean, I saw my 1-year-old nephew for the first time in God knows how long today, and I didn't only have for a couple minutes with him because I had to, come back and do this. And it's like, but this is what we do. Our job as HBCU Sports is to give you guys the lowdown on everything on and off the floor. And this is just going to be more mess. Like, I don't have any faith that this is the end of the story. I mean, it can't be, because they still have to hire an AD. They still have to hire. It's the most interesting thing, because when shout out to our esteemed senior editor, Kendrick Marshall, he's like, Chris, reach out to their communications director. Well, apparently that position was part of the ones that was a part of the house cleaning. So, it's going to be really hard to reach out to the communications director when the communications director has been excommunicated. So that's where we are in this process. But yes, I don't know what else we can say at this point. So, Jared, I'm going to ask you to take us home.
Well, first of all, I appreciate everybody in the chat that, educated me on the situation, because I'm learning just as much as everybody else. And we talked about their lack of faith in Patrick Crary to turn things around. I have this pulled up. This is Florida A&M's record each year since they let go of who they let go, who needed to go, that they absolutely needed to let him go. But this is their record since then. This is overall records: 15-17, 10-21, 9-22, 12-20, 10-23, 8-23, 14-18, 2-27, 8-21, 7-23, 9-25, 12-19, 12-15, 8-12, 13-17, 7-22, and last year 6-23. Now I know what you're thinking. The SWAC doesn't always have the best overall records because we play against Power 5 schools at the beginning of the season. So you don't expect our overall records to be that great. But you do expect them to have good conference records. In that time, in those 17 years, they have had a winning conference record 5 times. 5 times. Why are you so hung up on Patrick Crary not having success at the Division I level when, by the way, he has won a national championship at Washington Adventist? And he has led St. Thomas, his most recent coaching job, to 2 NAIA national tournaments. Why are you so surprised at the lack of success at your program when you have had 4 head coaches in the time since you let go of the person that you needed to let go? And you didn't even give these guys time. The most time that anybody got was Robert McCullum, who was their coach for the last 7 years. 7 years ain't really a lot of time to build a program. It should be, you should see progress in 7 years, but it's not enough time to build a stable program and have prolonged success. So that's just one of the issues that they have had, with AD Sykes and Patrick Curry being their head coaching hire. They've had so many other issues that they have caused, by the way, the Board of Trustees, their lack of faith in future hires, their inability to not micromanage everything that happens and just allowing the people in their positions to do their job. Meanwhile, you don't know what you're doing in your job, as Ken outlined, because you don't understand what it takes to run an athletic program. There are people who are put in place who have experience in their positions to do their job, and you didn't allow them to do that. And now you're at a deficit with 2 weeks to go, but less than 2 weeks to go before the athletic calendar begins. Hey, I just say a prayer for all the coaches and the players who are going to have to deal with questions of everything that the Board of Trustees are doing, that are going to have to deal with questions about, what the season is going to be like already. This is a lose-lose situation for Florida A&M. And as Ken said, they're going to have to take some lumps before it starts to get better.
That is those are some great final words. Ken, did you want to say anything before we
No, I pretty much said all I said for now. And the reason why, but like this, I could say more, but I'm not, because I do want to give this process just a little more time to kind of play itself out. I'm going to have more to say. I'm going to have much more to say, but I'm going to cap it, because again, I would much rather have some more context, if any, about all of this. But by all means, this is not, unfortunately, the last time we're going to talk about this. And I just, like I said, I don't know if I'm more upset of the fact of this just actually happened, or if I'm more upset over the fact that I didn't even go to FAMU and I'm still upset. I mean, damn. FAMU, what are you doing? Come on, man. Anyway, no, I'm done, man. I don't have anything else to say.
I think the reason why we're all upset is because anything that we know that we want these institutions to succeed, whether we went there or not. We want the people in positions of whether they're coaches or players or administrators. We want them all to do well because we all look good as a result. And
Okay.
anything that looks bad, we're all going to look, they're going to lump us all in together when things go bad.
Okay. So, you know what? I will say this. Now, I'm looking at some of the comments here, and there, we put a poll up asking the question: should Tiffany Dawn Sykes should she have been let go as FAMU's athletic director? 55% of you said yes, and I would love to know why. Matter of fact, Chris, do you have the link to this?
I do not.
Okay, let's see if we can get that link and put it into the chat, because I'm going to give you guys an opportunity. If anybody who's willing to come on and speak, I'm gonna give you an opportunity to talk about this, especially those of you who think she should have been let go. Let's work on see if we can get that link up real quick. And
Where is it, on Facebook or Twitter?
I'll see if I can find it. Y'all go ahead and do that.
Yeah, but in the meantime, because folks are going to make this food for podcasters to say this is why HBCUs are failures. Shout out to Edwin who's joining us. I said this before, and I don't mind repeating it. We can't allow what goes on at different institutions to color our entire community. Like, yes, this is bad. Like, I mean, there's a whole lot of shenanigans that go on at PWIs. Like, I mean, not to make light of what happened, but Michigan State had a athletic doctor that was, being a predator and violating gymnasts. You don't hear the Big Ten saying, "Oh, we're so very much ashamed of Michigan State." They let Michigan State deal with that foolishness on their own, which was the right course of action. And that dude is behind bars for the rest of his life, and they will never come out. So I don't think it's fair to say that while yes, this is some foolishness, as one of my mentors, the great Dennis Jones, former SID at Delaware State, used to say, "This is some hot chitlin mess." This is absolutely some hot chitlin mess. And while it is some hot chitlin mess, that is Florida A&M's hot chitlin mess. It's not the HBCU community's chitlin mess. It's not SWAC's chitlin mess. It's not even Tallahassee's. Not even that side of town. Florida State, they don't give a damn about what's going on in Florida A&M. Yeah. That's Florida A&M's issue to deal with.
Yeah, but Chris, I think what he was trying to say, and I don't even mean to cut you off, but I think what he's trying to say is that there are a lot of people who have a voice that speak about HBCUs that have no idea what goes on in the ins and outs in the HBCUs. Well, I think what he's trying to say is that we can't control how people inform people about HBCUs or about what happens at any singular HBCU. So any singular HBCU that does something wrong, they lump us all in. We can't control how they speak about us. I think that's what they're trying to say. I don't think they're saying that we or anybody that is trustworthy in the HBCU media space is going to lump us all in. They're talking about the national corporations, the national media that don't sit in those rooms that we sit in, that don't cover HBCUs on a daily basis. They only cover when it's a scandal, when it's something negative. Those are the people that he's talking about that are going to lump us all in and make it seem like HBCUs don't have what it takes to be successful institutions and all this type of stuff, and spread all this misinformation about HBCUs and how inadequate they think that we are when we're really not. And we can pull up statistics that show you that HBCUs are a large portion of many different industries that we have no say in how they communicate HBCUs in that space. We can control how we communicate HBCUs and the people in those seats, whether they're players, whether they're coaches, or whether they're administrators, athletic, or just institution faculty members and stuff like that. We can control that. We can't control the outside narrative. And we have to fight against those narratives when stories like this happen. So I think I just want to provide context on that.
That's fine. Just want you guys to know, for those of you who said that the AD should have been let go, I would really like to hear from you. There is a link in the comment area. Feel free to come on in. You ain't got to show your face. You can just talk about it. But if you are one of those individuals who thinks that Tiffany Don Sykes should have been let go, I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear the justification for your rationale, especially when we've provided facts to support that the problem wasn't with Tiffany Don Sykes. The problem was with folks not named Tiffany Don Sykes. And, so, and don't get me wrong, there is no such, I want to make this clear. There is no such thing as a perfect person. There is no such thing as a perfect presidential candidate. There is no such thing as a perfect university president. There's no such thing as a perfect university athletic director. It sure as hell no such thing as a perfect board of trustees or board of regents, depending on what school you're over. We know that. So this, and we understand that, folks have, to some degree, have to be held accountable for the roles that they play. But the one thing that we've always said, and that's constant, which is nothing that is just profound. It's something that we would expect in anybody with a job or a certain level of responsibility. You should just be able to safely accept the fact that at some degree, if you're going to be held accountable for what you do, then let a person do the damn job, so that when that time for the review comes up and you can say, you know what, you did this well, you didn't do this so well. You didn't do this so well, but you did this very well. And then we can determine whether or not that person needs to stay on board. But when you have people who are constantly interfering, people who are doing the jobs that they're not supposed to do, i.e. the board of trustees, who've indicated, well, you know what, we don't necessarily want to get ourselves involved in personnel issues, but yet you involve yourself in personnel issues. You've told us this yourself. And that is not your role. The board has openly said this during their meetings. And yet, here we are. And yet, so, some people said we can't go on camera. We at work. Well, you in chat on social media, but that's okay. I hear you. But I'm just saying. So okay. So nobody wants to come on, but that's fine, man. But I've said all I had to say.
All right, and I think let me put this one comment up from Silas, and then I'll expound on my closing thoughts, and then we'll get up out of here. If they believe that about HBCUs is because they only want to continue to be brainwashed by a culture in our nation that wants to continue that to think that black culture is inferior, I for one could care less because I know the truth. That's a damn good point.
Wait, and go ahead, man. Go ahead. Go finish.
And just to expound on what Silas is saying is that yes, and it goes back to what Jared said. We in this space, those of us who cover HBCUs every day, there's a few of us, and we have a vested interest in seeing these schools succeed. We don't like doing stuff like this. People think that because we report the news, like I know people will probably just, for example, look at the Virginia State story that I wrote and say, "Oh wow, he enjoyed that." No, I didn't. It didn't make me feel very good. It was very difficult to read, to write, and I don't want to give away the just stay tuned. But we have a vested interest in seeing these schools and these athletes and these universities succeed. We don't like talking about stuff like this, but it's our job to talk about it. Right. And we can't just, we can't just, with everything that's going on with Florida A&M, with the football coach, with the basketball coach, with the $237 million Joanne the scammer, this is some stuff that we have to report because it's what we are called to do as journalists.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I keep interrupting you, Chris. Go ahead and finish your point now.
No, that's fine. But we're good. But what we do love is that when we get feedback like this is one of the most highly attended shows that we've had in a minute. And we thank you all for tuning in because, as American Brother said, I know a lot of y'all are at work. I mean, this is work for us, but I know some of y'all got jobs where y'all can't be on camera. And, you don't want the boss speaking over your shoulder like,
Right.
excuse me, what's an HBCU Sports? What does that have to do with the TPS reports?
Right.
We're not trying to get y'all fired.
Right.
We've seen enough people get fired today. Okay, but we thank y'all for tuning in. But
let me just add a little bit more to what Silas said, because Silas, here's another thing, and you are absolutely correct in what you say. And to add to Chris's point about us, having an obligation to report on these things and to comment on these things because it's what we do. And our new tagline is, HBCU Sports. We cover HBCU athletics, good, bad, or indifferent, because we're not a PR firm. I feel the need to constantly express that point. HBCU Sports is not a PR firm. And our only reason, and Silas, I'm going to address your point. This has nothing to do with you. It's just that I can't tell you guys how many email I get from just regular stakeholders. There's that word again. From HBCU stakeholders, even HBCU administrators, who will email me and say, I cannot believe you would put this information out there because of this, that, and the other. And I'm like, this is news. This is what we do. We're not a PR firm. We're not going to sugarcoat this. But so, Silas, to your point, I just want to say this, that while we have an obligation to comment and report on these things, but to your point about folks who want to be brainwashed by culture, there's an element of truth to that. And to that, I would just simply say that's the reason why we have to continue to set the record straight. It's the reason why we have to continuously tell folks that as much as folks like to make things like this an HBCU problem, it's not an HBCU problem, because it's not happening at every single HBCU. Because of how they're structured differently. Some are private, some are public. They're structured completely differently. Even Grambling and Southern are two state-supported institutions in Louisiana, but believe it or not, the structure is completely different. They're both handled by two different board of regents or trustees or whatever the case may be, but it's completely different, and they don't operate the same way. This is a FAMU problem. This is a FAMU issue, and it has been FAMU issue after FAMU issue after FAMU issue after FAMU issue. This ain't no HBCU issue. Jared made the comment about, how it's always something, how FAMU always appears to make headlines just before the start of the football season. Majority, 20, 21, 22 teams deemed ineligible to start before the start of the North Carolina game. That ain't an HBCU issue. You didn't hear any other HBCUs talking about they had 20 players ineligible for the start of the first game. You didn't hear about any HBCUs talking about we had 9-figure donations that wasn't a donation, because you know what? That same guy actually went to an HBCU and he was like, nah, dog, we good. That actually happened. So this ain't an HBCU issue. So Silas, to your point, we feel obligated to have to kind of set the record straight to that, because granted, FAMU is an HBCU, but we just need to, let it be known that sometimes, we just got to set the record straight. Plain and simple. Plain and simple.
I wanted to speak about why I think it's important for us to fight against that narrative of HBCUs, because one of the most beautiful things about HBCUs is when you graduate and you see those first-time graduates, people in their families who are the first person to graduate from a university, from college.
Right.
That to me is something that is so special. Seeing the family treat the graduate as if they're a superstar, as if they're a celebrity. You know what I mean? Think about those families who have someone who has the potential to be a first-time graduate, and they look at the news and they see people spewing the name of HBCUs, and they're talking about how they're inadequate and how you can't have success going to an HBCU. Now, yes, it's brainwashing, and it's something that we have no control over, and we all know that is a lie. But we are robbing the next generation of an experience that we hold dear in our hearts. You know what I mean? And that's something that I feel like is unfair that all institutions have to deal with when singular stories come out about singular HBCUs. You know what I mean? That's something that I feel like is important, and why I'm not gonna lie, I care about the narrative around HBCUs when I see people spread all this misinformation about people who have needed to fund our institutions because we were this close to our doors closing when we're really thriving. You know what I mean? We and when the national media, they can speak about HBCUs and it hold weight. We can't speak about PWIs and all that goes on with their institutions, and they take a hit. They will be just fine. Even when the national media speaks about what goes on at PWIs, they don't take a hit. Their alumni fan base will continue to give to their universities, and they're going to thrive through all of it and not take a single hit and not have nothing come to them. No backlash, no consequences whatsoever, except for a little bit of bad press that'll go by the wayside in the next month.
Yeah, Edwin made that exact point about how
I got that from him.
Yeah, yeah, right, and that's a great point, Edwin. You hear news all the time about PWIs and issues that a particular individual school that may be having, but nobody says that's a PWI issue. No one accuses them of having a PWI issue. But for whatever reason, when something goes on at an HBCU and just, there's no such thing as a perfect 4-year institution either. That includes Harvard and Yale and all those Ivy League schools. We know they got issues. But it ain't, if a problem goes on at Harvard, they don't call it a Ivy League issue. It's just a problem at Harvard. So I say, for those of you, and someone made this comment in the chat, that black folks have a tendency to say if something goes wrong, they call it an HBCU issue. Now, granted, I may have. Let me just put this in proper context, because there may have been a time that at one point that I think we kind of would generally make those type of comments, and I will all say that was pre George Floyd. And then, or should I say, I won't put that in George. That was pre Deion Sanders. And then Deion Sanders comes on and creates this narrative about all of these problems that are taking place that he witnessed at Jackson State. And because there are probably some issues that, that take place at Valley and Alcorn State about the trainers and stuff like that, now all of a sudden people want to make it an HBCU problem just because. And the fact of the matter is, that's not necessarily the case. And so I'll admit I was one of the ones, and I'm like, okay, now I'm becoming a little hypersensitive about that, because that may have been viewed only to, even though I took a deeper look and realized that sometimes it's actually more of an FCS problem, believe it or not, whether y'all realize it or not. But that's beside the point. But so I've gotten a little hypersensitive about that, to where I don't necessarily want to paint a broad brush or a broad stroke and put all of these to lump all HBCUs in a particular situation like this, because it ain't on them, especially this. This is something that is, to be quite honest with you, this is a cultural issue that FAMU has to deal with, because there may be those so-called, those common HBCUs, but I'm telling you, man, it's just like one thing after one thing after one thing with FAMU. There is a cultural issue that needs to be addressed. It ain't the students. I don't even necessarily think it's the so-called personnel. It's at the executive level. It's at the executive level. That's where it needs to, that's where the issues need to be resolved. The board, it's easy for the board of trustees to point fingers and say, this needs to be fixed, this needs to be fixed, when the problem ain't them, it's you. DeSantis needs to remove some of y'all asses off the board, or some of you need to resign. I'm sorry. I'm going all over the place, but thank you for giving me the time and opportunity to speak. I'm shut up.
And we're gonna leave it on that note. I mean, obviously, this is not the last you're gonna hear from us, because it's not gonna be the last you hear from Florida A&M on these shenanigans. But thank you all so much for spending an hour of your day with us. I'm Chris Stevens. He's Jared Hoffman. He's Ken Rashad. And before we leave, we want to remind you all to like and comment and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can get more great videos like this. You can check out our website, HBCUsports.com. We are on all manners of social media: Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok. Follow us everywhere. We are great at what we do, and we appreciate y'all for tuning in to what we do so we can keep doing it. So thank y'all. Enjoy the rest of your week. Hopefully this might not even be the last time you see either one of us, because you never know what's going to happen. But we thank you all for watching, and until the next time we talk, y'all take care of yourselves and enjoy your week.
Y'all take it easy.